the other reference I just want to give for where we come from as brothers is a little bit of scripture. If you've ever been or celebrated the Holy Thursday liturgy before Easter, where we celebrate the institution of the Eucharist and the beginning of the priesthood in that moment of the Last Supper. I'm just going to propose that you could also find the origins of the brother vocation in that moment too, in the washing of the feet. And so looking at the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "If I therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do." And then later on, about 15 verses later in John's Gospel, Jesus says to us, "My children, I will be with you only a little while longer. You will look for me, and as I told the Jews, where I go, you cannot come. So now I say to you, I give you a new commandment, love one another as I have loved you. So you also should love one another. This is how they will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Again, universal calls, we're all called to this, but I've found that speaks to my vocation as a Salesian brother in a very profound way. This call to serve, this call to love, and really to be an image of, we think of the many titles of Christ, whether it's Christ the King, Christ the High Priest. I didn't know I was going to have this much trouble switching back to English after doing Spanish all day. Yeah, so there's these many titles for Christ, and for us as brothers, we're called to give. Hey, Father John. We're called to bear witness to Christ our brother, because through baptism we become children of God, and therefore brothers to Christ, and Christ is our brother. So we as brothers give witness to that. Again, that was a brief history. And the last few things I want to throw out there are also in Scripture. You have the image of Tobit and Raphael in the Old Testament, who accompany each other. Raphael is the archangel that walks with him. For me, that's a very profound image of the brother, one that accompanies and walks with. I just mentioned Christ our brother, and the other two are just fun ones from Scripture and movies. If you've ever read Lord of the Rings, Sam and Frodo, Sam's the brother, like beautiful image of it. And then if you're a Pixar fan, Big Hero 6, the older brother, for me, that's like the amazing model, without bringing in the reference to Christ, but this how you live as a brother, one that knows well, walks alongside, guides without forcing, and is always there. Whether it's my brother in community, the young people I serve, or the world as a whole, I'm called to be a brother to all. That's it. Back to you, Father Dom.
I think he's muted. I think you're muted.
Okay, welcome, Father John. You want to switch to be a brother? We'll consider it. And thank you, Travis. The English is a bit shaky, but the content is good. Thank you. All right. Let's move along. We'll get a chance for some questions later. Okay, Brother Rafael, what do you want to share with us?
Hey, just to kind of piggyback a little on kind of what Travis shared. I mean, first of all, I'm gonna kind of mention it is a little weird speaking English. I mean, it is a little awkward, so I relate with Travis, and I've been here for almost 2 years, so it's nice speaking English a little. But just to share a little, just on kind of what Travis says in the history, that I guess first of all, it's since our roots, I think we're all called to be brothers. I mean, first of all, I remember, when we look at Jesus, not only does he call us, we are his friends, but also he calls us a little more deeply, where he says in Matthew, Do not let anyone call you rabbi, for you have only one teacher. But for one is your teacher, and you are all brothers. And so I think, first of all, Christ is calling us to be brothers. Christ calls us to be, united as one, right, in family. And so I think for me, being a brother is a reference to that, is to help create, not only to consider myself Jesus' brother, but also consider everyone as my own brother. And so that brings us, that calls us to serve, right, and to form family and community. I guess being a brother also in community itself, I think it's basically living that. I think living as religious men consecrated to God, in community where we're equal we're equal in community, we're one, we share the same mission, we live together, we accompany each other, we serve, and so it's basically as one community going out and serving and being Christ for others, being also Jesus in itself. Jesus also made himself as our brother too. Jesus also relates to us as our brother too. And so basically in community, I think more practically is basically living with other brothers, other, priest brothers, wherever we are. But, equally we live as family basically. And so our communities are basically, like families. It's our family. Obviously we have our own family that, given by God, but we also create our family, and so that's one aspect. And in doing so, I think just living together as family, as brothers, we accompany each other just like we desire to accompany other people, that are in need. I think in community, we also are called to do that for one another, to accompany each other, to grow together, to laugh together, to also to cry together and to support one another through situations. And so it's not always going to be beautiful, just like in any family. But I think it's really important for us to treat each other as brothers. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that. And, sometimes, especially being in large communities, sometimes it's easy to forget that, we're, that kind of like inner family type of relation, sometimes we lose that. And so I think for me, I find it important to also always kind of to work in always making our community, feel like family, right? And to being there and, making it, my family basically, right? And treating it as that. So I think that's kind of what I have to share with you guys. And also another aspect too, and to kind of finish off with this, I guess also being a brother also personally is kind of always helped me to go out, and to basically kind of in a sense break boundaries of, I think sometimes, we all have, sometimes prejudices, sometimes we have fears, sometimes we have barriers that kind of prevent us from getting closer to another person, right? And I think just the term brother also helps me to personally relate to other people, to kind of like bring my guard down. And also I think it helps other people to kind of relate to me as well. As another person, as a brother, as a religious, but as also as a friend, or as a brother if need be. So that's that.
Good, thank you. Okay, let me look at the schedule and see what do we have up next. Hang on. What did that go? Okay. All right. So Brother Rafael talked about the idea of brothers being in community. Brother Ed will sort of develop that a little bit further. Brother Ed.
Okay. My order was really founded by an accident. We were founded by a priest who had no intentions of ever starting a religious order and no intentions of ever starting schools. But it shows you that the work of God is not our work. He was on his way to celebrate Mass, and a Frenchman, we were founded in France. A Frenchman came up to him and said, Father La Salle, look around. The kids are getting into trouble because there's no schools for them. So we asked Jean-Baptiste de La Salle to start a school with him. Jean-Baptiste de La Salle thought it meant he was going to open his wallet and give money because he was came from a very wealthy family. Adrian Niel was a dreamer. So he started the school, but then all of a sudden he booked and he was nowhere to be found. So the work was left to Father Jean-Baptiste de La Salle. He knew he couldn't do it by himself, so he gathered a group of men to help him with the schools. He had a great line. He said, the original teachers were below my valet. So with the group of men, he knew that he had to do a lot of work with them. So he invited them into his home, which didn't make his family too happy. And rather than calling them the schoolmasters, he called them teachers. And then he called them brothers. So that's how we began, totally by an accident. But it was, thank God, we call it a chance encounter. But after my name, I'm Brother Edward Shields, FSC. The FSC stands for Fratres Scholarium Christianarum, which means Brothers of the Christian Schools. Very few people call us that because we're called the De La Salle Christian Brothers after our founder. At some point in the founder's life, he knew that he should step down as superior general and hand it over to another person. And he thought that, in those days and even today, it was not acceptable for a brother to be a superior of a priest. So he sent one of our brothers to the seminary. And he died in the seminary. Jean-Baptiste de La Salle took that as a sign that we should be an order of all brothers. So we were the first order of all brothers in the church. Since then, you have the Marist brothers, you have the Brothers of Christian Instruction. But we were founded in 1680 in France. So since 1680 to today, our brothers are all over the world. We're all involved in educational mission. We were founded, our charism is, we were founded for the human and Christian education of young people, especially the poor. So and the reason he wanted us to remain all brothers, he said he wanted our focus to be on the classroom and not on the altar. So that our work, our church is in the classroom. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And maybe after Brother Bernie talking about a community of priests and brothers, we can go back to Brother Ed and see the differences in the dynamics of the community maybe. But Brother Bernie.
Brother Bernie, microphone.
All right.
Microphone.
Thank you. I think Brother Ed sort of give us a little difference between the brothers' order, like you mentioned, and our setup is we're known as clerical orders. We're priests and brothers, and we have the Salesian, you have the Jesuits, you have the Holy Cross, you have the Dominican, Franciscan, and so many other thousands of religious priests and brothers order. And I guess what is the difference is we have priests, we live together as priests and brothers, and in particular in our charism in Don Bosco would call us confrères, brothers together, living together. As Brother Rafael was talking, we're brothers among brothers, and we sort of support each other. And Don Bosco wanted the brothers to be on an equal basis in our community. So we sit at the table with everybody. There's no difference of who we are. Same with as far as leadership. The only thing, as Brother Ed mentioned, that the brothers are not allowed to be directors, and that's the case in the clerical order. But in his order, yes, Brother Ed, you have superiors. Your own brothers were superiors, right? But in the clerical brothers, the clerical order, the priests are the superiors of the community, not the brothers. But we follow the same charism, and our charism of Don Bosco is almost like Brother Ed is working with the young people. And for me, it's been a great support in my life as a brother for 49 years this year. Thank God for the blessing of the community life, which supports me in my work that I do with the school, with Father John, and for the community. But there is a big difference in the difference of the clerical orders and the brothers' order, and the fact that we had the priests, and thank God during this pandemic that we were able to have mass every day and receive communion every day, because I have priests in the community who were able to provide me with the sacraments of the Eucharist and penance also. So that's pretty much the distinction between a religious order of cleric brothers and of the brothers order. Dominic.
Okay, thank you. Anything else about the dynamics of the two communities? One with brother, one with priests and brothers? Or we'll come back to that. All right, we can come back to it. All right, so of all the brothers here, could you share a few words about the ministries that you have in the community? And as a brother, you also ministering to your families of origin, and then in ministries in public ministry, that's what I call, whether in the classroom, in the library, vocation ministry, what have you. So how about, let's start with Brother Kris, since he hasn't had a chance to say much yet.
What am I supposed to say now?
All right, what are some of your ministries, or what you do in ministry, but also ministry to your own community, not just in...
Well, my community right now, my own ministry is stay away from them.
Good, keep it that way.
Because Leo and I, we flew back to California from New Jersey about 2 weeks ago, like roughly, less than 2 weeks ago. So we have to separate ourselves. We have to quarantine ourselves. For the community, I'm not complaining. I have food delivered to my door every day. So, but honestly, to my ministry now, I think back in New Jersey, the place that I see that as the most clear or the clearest is when I go to school at Seton Hall. Because I'm a brother, so I don't have to take like the full-time philosophy or psychology or theology, because I already had enough philosophy back when I was in junior college. So I majored in psychology in Seton Hall, and I go to like the normal, regular. Not that the seminary is not normal. But like, like the regular university with, like other college students, they don't know who I am, and they probably don't give a damn who I am. But to see that, me being with them and, like just being another college student and interact with them just like another friend. But at the same time, internally, I'm aware, or at least I have to constantly remind myself that you're a Salesian brother, you're a Salesian brother, you're a Salesian brother. You're not one of them. You want to be one of them, but you're not. Like because you come to the using I come to the university being sent by the community. We go there for a mission. For first of all to study, yes, but second of all to be the light of Christ among them, to be the yeast. To rise up the bread. So and then in my own community back in New Jersey, it just being a brother among other brother, and priests have their function in the community to celebrating mass. For us, we have our own. At least the way I see it is that I try to create the brotherly environment as much as I can among my community. So that's the two clearest brother vocation for me that I see in myself, in my environment.
Okay, thank you, Kris. Okay, the other brothers, we don't have to follow any particular order. If you want to share, jump right in.
All right, I'll share. So I was kind of reflecting on that. I think in terms of pastoral activities, in terms of ministry, I'm always reminded to be like Christ. What would Christ do? But also more than that, as Salesians, what would Don Bosco do? And I guess as Salesians, we're called to emulate, Don Bosco's heart and passion for young people. We're called to be Christ, especially to young people, to those in most need. And I think in doing so, there's anything we do is our way to serve and to do that. So any type of activity is basically part of that mission. If that, through our presence, through accompaniment, through, if that's like more formal type of accompaniment, if that's just like, being there for them is, helping, evangelizing, teaching. Currently, I'm not teaching, but, I taught, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was 2 years teaching at, one of our high schools. And so that was an amazing experience, but also I was coaching, also cross country and track. And so, I think going beyond like the specific little, if that's teaching, if you're doing this or doing that, it goes beyond that. I think anything we do, we do for the glory of God and for the mission. I mean, if whatever needs be, we put all our gifts into, to serve. And I think all of us have, special talents or certain areas of special, specialty, right? So some people are, really study psychology, are really good in other areas, I think we put all our gifts at, in service. And so I think, and also another thing in terms of the pastoral activity is that I think being in a community, we try to work together also to look at the whole mission, right? And to work together to see everything as a big picture, not just, well, I'm involved in this and, father is in doing this and this brother is involved in this, but I think together we have to work, we look at something at a big picture and work together to really have a big impact, and to serve and to work with everyone that we work with. I think sometimes it's not just each individual's, thing, but we share one big mission, and in that we put all our gifts together. So currently at least this year or last year, I was involved in, which was like a very unique experience. Every weekend we would say Friday to Sunday in one of our mission communities, which from our community is about 6 hours away. So we would leave Friday, travel 6 hours, stay at one of our mission communities, and we would basically serve in one of the villages in Guatemala. And so it was also a different language. It was in like kind of more, it wasn't Spanish, it was a whole different language, but people kind of understand Spanish, they can't really speak it. And so being there was a unique experience of being able to create an oratory from scratch with, with the people there. So that was a very unique and amazing experience. And then also transmitting of, what is an oratory, who's Don Bosco. And this year we're not there anymore. Not also because of the, COVID, right, and quarantine. But then I think this year we started 2 oratories in the end, and those 2 oratories are still going, are thriving. And then this year we started a new ministry, because of, after evaluating, it was a big sacrifice for us, traveling a lot. And so this year we dedicated ourselves to being at a local home or shelter for young people who are, who are basically who can't live with their families because of abuse. And because of abuse and neglect, the government sends them to a shelter. And so we basically have been, before the quarantine, since January, we were staying there from Friday to Sunday also. And we're involved in all the activities, taking care, creating activities with them and for them. So we were just there 24/7, Friday to Sunday. And we would sleep there. So that was a very unique experience. And so we definitely miss doing that and being there with the young people. And it's definitely something that definitely won't be able to experience in the US, because, I think facilities like that are, have a lot of restrictions. So I think definitely very grateful to have those 2 experiences. So.
All right, thank you, Brother Rafael.
Thank you, brother.
Others.
Hey, Brother Bernie. Most of my work has been in youth ministry. I was in Toronto, Joshua, for 23 years at St. Benedict's. And while I was there, I was also the youth minister and also chaplain of a high school, or what we call CYM, for 10 years, chaplain work. And during that time, I was also doing retreat work, doing school retreats, school retreats. And I also was in retreat work for about 9 years between New York and Massachusetts. Presently now I'm at Salesian High School and working in assistant librarian. And I do faith formation. I'm the sacristan of the school, getting the mass ready and the readers ready for the mass. And really it's very inspiring to see, and Father John can vouch for this, that we have about 10 to 20 kids a day for mass when we did have school. But it's always been impressive to see a young man come to mass every day. I've been in CCD work. Did young adult ministry. When I was in Toronto, I started Squires with the Knights of Columbus, which is a very, very good movement for the young people. And with the support of my community, which is, able to give me the chance to do all the work that I did, but with the support of the community. So that's been my work in ministry as a Salesian. Dominic.
I mute myself. Next week, Brother Bernie will be, many of us in this community will be on retreat, and Brother Bernie will do all the cooking and feed us. How about that? Thank you, Brother Bernie.
Welcome.
All right, Brother Travis, Brother Ed, anything else?
Father Dominic, can I say something?
Oh, do we have to?
Yes, you do.
All right, go for it, Father John.
Anyway, I'm Father John Serio, and I'm here at Salesian High School in New Rochelle. And when I first became interested in the Salesians, it was not through the priests, it was through because when I was a kid, I went to a Salesian camp that was run almost entirely by brothers, and there was only 1 or 2 priests on the staff. And so I came to know the Salesians that way first. But Don Bosco said something that is really important. He said to the brothers, there are many things that priests can't do and many places that priests can't go. That's why I need brothers to do those things and to go to those places where priests are not able. I think there are 2 basic reasons for that. I think one is, part of it is the vocation and the attitude of the brother. He's not ordained. He is a consecrated person. He is a layman. Looks like he doesn't wear a habit or a collar, and he looks like everybody else on the street. And sometimes people are more prone to talk to a brother than they might be to a priest. And so Don Bosco said, there are things and places brothers can go that priests can't. When I was here at Salesian High School in the 90s, the campus minister, the CYM, was a brother whose name is Tom Sweeney. Now, Brother Tom and I are very good friends, and he entered it 1 year before I did, so I've known him ever since I entered the community. And so I was the local superior here and the president of the school. And some years I was the only priest on the faculty, in the faculty, but it didn't matter because Tom and I were good friends. And Tom has a very engaging way of dealing with young people. And lots of times, Tom would come to me and say, this young man is having a difficulty. See if you can have a few words with him. I saw this kid is having trouble. Maybe you can take a look into his family and see what you can do. This kid, I'm going to send you somebody who hasn't been to confession in a long time, and he spoke to me and said he wanted to go to confession. So can you make yourself available in this place and time? And we were, I wouldn't say we were a tag team, but but it was exceedingly helpful for the young men who were at Salesian in those days when Brother Tom and I were together. Then Brother Tom and I were together again at a place called Don Bosco Cristo Rey High School in Washington. And we would do the same, he would do the same thing. He taught religion. He wasn't the campus minister or the CYN. In the work study department, but he'd come to me and say, John, you know, go sit in a confessional at this time and somebody will come to you. Now, he had those connections that I certainly would not have had for various reasons, but it really points out, to me, it points out that we cannot, it's hard to be Salesians if we don't have both brothers and priests as part of the community, whether it's the local community, the province community, or the worldwide congregation. Because Don Bosco saw that both the two vocations as priest and brother were complementary, and both were Salesians, and both of us are necessary. And I think about those experiences with Brother Tom, both in Washington and here in New Rochelle, as instrumental in pushing the mission forward with individual kids and with the whole community.
Great,
Thank you, John.
Okay, Brother Travis, Brother Ed, either one.
Go for it, Brother Ed.
Okay. Well, as I said, I belong to a teaching order in the church. Our brothers are all involved in education. My own life, I taught middle grades for 11 years of my life. And then I was a principal of an elementary school for a few days, only 27 years. And after I left administration, I did vocation work, and that's how I met Father Dominic, my first round doing vocation work. So I was doing vocation ministry for 4 years, and then I got a call, and when I guess with every order, it's universal. Whenever you get a call from your provincial or your superior to go out to supper, it means that you're going to be changed. So I went down to the provincial headquarters, and my groupie, when we enter a novitiate group, so we call each other groupies. My novitiate groupie says to me, "Where do they want you to go?" I said, "I'll tell you after dinner." So I was asked to become a campus minister and to teach religion. Fell in love with it. After years and years of administration, it was wonderful just to do campus ministry and teaching religion. It was a wonderful work and really enjoyed it. But then God had a sense of humor, because once again, I was asked to go back to vocation work. So this is my second year back in vocation ministry. And I came back at Manhattan College, and it was 50 years to the day I was a freshman at Manhattan College that I moved back in here. So I took a picture of the campus and sent it to guys I went to college here. And one of the cynics in the group says to me, "I hope your old knees can take all those stairs and hills." Because I've been to Manhattan College, it's all stairs and hills. And I wrote back to him and said, "Your knees are old, mine aren't."
All right, great. Let's do this. I don't want to, mean to cut Travis off, but I think we, because of time, we better move to the next one, and we can return to this if time allows. All right. Sorry about that. So Brother Kris, how did you discover your vocation to be a brother?
There we go. Okay. It came to me during my novitiate year, because before, when I was, working on the paperwork with the vocation director from the Western Province, even before that, I was, I didn't know better. I was thinking about becoming a diocesan priest. And then later on, when I know the Salesian, okay, I'll be Salesian, I'll become Salesian priest, That's a normal thing to me at that time, It's become a religious, that's priesthood. Like, to me, in those days, it's basically the same. But then to get to know the Salesian better and to work with the Salesian and to see the Salesian, both priest and brother, to work with each other. At first, I still didn't, asking myself that question. But then at the beginning of the novitiate year, we were asked to, to reflect on that too. Because first of all, you want to be a Salesian first before you want to discern either a Salesian brother or a Salesian priest. We will have to want to be a Salesian first. We want to have to be a son of Don Bosco first. And then along the year, I kept praying on it, and it actually came to my mind because, well, it's one thing to think about, you know, all my vocation and my call, how am I going to be holy? But at the other hand, you know, it's also to think about the practicality of it, you know, like what do I want to do? Because sometimes I feel like God's will can come through our desire and our want and how we want to live our life. So, you know, to pay attention to that and to really focus on that and bring that to prayer. In my prayer, like, I like to help the kids in the future, you know, like what do they need? First of all, what do they need in the future? In maybe 5 to 10 years, what do my province need in 5 to 10 years? And what do I want to do in 5 to 10 years? And then, you know, in my quest of answering those questions, I came to the conclusions that it makes sense, just to me, it makes sense to be a brother, because I will be able to study psychology instead of theology, because I perceive, in my perception, there's a great need in our young people for mental health, for, you know, combined with spiritual counseling. So that's my desire to help serve that population of young people. And I also see in my province, there's a need for psychologists in our school. In our high schools, we have counselor, but we don't have school psychologist. So that's how I want to work. And in my prayer, it slowly come clearer and clearer. That I remember at one point when I was in prayer, I remember my confusion. So like back when I was younger, I was asked by one of my friends to be his, you know, like groomsman for his wedding. And I remember kneeling down when they're doing the ring thing, my precious thing, you know, taking vow with each other. I do, I don't, whatever. And I remember sitting there looking at the altar with the priest on the other side and the two taking vow. I remember I was confused. I didn't want to be any of those two. Like, or I don't see myself to be the one to celebrate the sacraments or to recite the ceremony. And I don't see myself to be in a marriage either. And I thought it was, at that point, I was like, whatever, you know, maybe I was just confused a little bit. But then in my prayer later on in the novitiate, I'm like, maybe that's why. Maybe it's some sort of like a sign or something, if you want to call it that. You know, like maybe I don't have to be. Mind you, I'm Vietnamese, and I guess Father Dominic and Tin and Quan can vouch me for that. In our Vietnamese culture, it's sad, but it's true. You know, it is what it is. That for religious, for us, for me at least, we have an expectation. You know, like you're religious, you better be a priest because, you know, it will bring honor to the family. Let's just put it that way. But when I come to the conclusions that, you know what, I think the brother vocation is for me. When I accept that, I felt a sense of relief, like yes, like this is I feel peaceful, like to make this decision, and it just felt right, you know. And since then, I never really think back about it to say like, did I make the right decision or did I make the wrong decision? I'm just a Salesian. I'm just a Salesian brother, and I'm a brother. That's fine. Like, I don't, to my parents, I have to explain a little further. I don't have to be a priest to be religious. That's why I have to explain to my parents. So, I don't think they fully grasped the concept yet, but hopefully someday. So yeah, so that's how I come to my decision.
Good. Thank you, Kris.